So this morning, let me welcome you. So today we're going to be doing 1 hour, and we're going to be talking about um, AI as your project leadership assistant. We're going to look at some quick drafts, some rapid brainstorming, some efficient content creation. So in order to do some hands-on with you today, we're going to try something we've not done with you before. And so I've got some prompts in a Word document that I'm going to put on chat. So if you'll go ahead and open up your chat, and get that open so that I can send that to you. And that way you'll have it on your side and you're not having to type anything in. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to be able to cut and paste that into one of your AI tools. So if you open up any tool you'd like, we're going to walk you through some things that will help you, that will benefit project management. And so we've been working on this for some time, and I think you're going to love it. So if you'll go ahead and open up your chat, and I've got my Word document ready. And so I'll wait just a second here, and then I'll send it to you so that everybody can get a copy of this. So if you have your chat open, I'm going to send you the prompts for this 1 hour session we're going to do here. Okay. That way you don't have to type. All right. So you should have it open. Here comes your prompt. And so if you're wanting to participate in this, you'll just cut and paste some of the prompts as we go through this, and that'll help you a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get some of this stuff moved around for you here. So let me move some of this. All right, let's get this out of your way here so you can see everything. Let's get our slides up here so you can see what we're doing here, okay? There we go. All right. All right, you should see it coming up right now. So we're going to take a look at our session today and take you through some things that will be kind of fun for you and will help you a little bit. All right, so today we're going to be talking about AI as your project leadership assistant. And so this is kind of a fun time because you're going to actually use some of the skills that you've been reading about or that you've been hearing about. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take you through some of the prompts today to allow you an opportunity to see some of these. So let's start off with a couple of things. First off, here's some of the links. If you're wondering where to sign up for any of your AI tools, I just made a whole list of them here for AI, OpenAI, which is very common, Grok, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Meta AI, Claude, any of these that you want to sign up for, I don't care. Whatever you're using, maybe some of them you're already using. So just use something as we can do some of these things. And so I want to walk you through some of the pieces here so that you have an opportunity to see some of these. All right, so the other piece that we're going to be looking at here is we're going to be looking at, let me get this ready for me here. And so what other piece that we're going to be looking at is we're going to start going into talking about a project. So we want to give you a sample project here that's going to help you. And so as you look at this, so understanding fundamentals of using this. So if you've not used this before, this will be kind of a fun time for you. And so we're going to be using generative AI is what we're going to be using. And let me get my prompt up here. And so we're going to be using generative AI. There we go. And what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be taking it through different aspects of the project and to show you how this can work and work for you as an assistant. We've had a lot of people saying a lot of different crazy things about AI, and they talk about it as if it's going to make all these decisions for us. And I think in some cases, I think it's possible for it to make some of those decisions, but everything that we're going to show you about for project management is going to leave AI in the loop so that so you're a human in the loop with AI, and it's going to be functioning as your assistant. And so here we're going to look at a prompt. When we talk about a prompt, it's going to be an instruction to your AI tool. And so if you've not messed with it at all, this is going to be kind of fascinating to you. And then generative AI is one of the most common technologies that's out right now that is driven by a prompt. So you write a prompt and it's going to produce something that you want. Now, a lot of times the big mistake that people have with this is that they have a tendency to think of Google because we're used to searching Google. So you've got to move Google out of your head for a moment and look at it through the eyes of, okay, if we put a prompt in And what we're going to do is leave that prompt in, and whatever it produces, you don't move it, and then you put more in, because what it is, it does it on an iterative fashion. And so you're going to be putting your project in, then you're going to be putting in additional prompts, and it's going to be using all of that previous information to produce something for you. And so we want to show you how some of this will actually work for you as we do this. So understanding the fundamentals. So generative AI is the most useful when you treat it as a thinking and a production assistant. The idea that it's just going to make a decision for us, that some of that will happen down the line. Some of it will happen more as people create better organized chatbots, or smarter chatbots and those type of things. But some of the stuff that we're talking about today is going to be mainly as an assistant. You're wanting to understand, did I cover all the topics that I needed? Did I do all the risks that I needed? And this is going to generate some of it for you. And so if you can, it will help you create, organize, summarize, compare, review, explain, any of those kind of components. It gives it to you in a matter of seconds, as many of you already know. There's also some cautions, though, in using AI, and that is with generative AI, it should not be used blindly. And so a lot of times people will use it and they just kind of throw it over the wall, hope for the best. Accuracy is going to be a piece of it. Confidentiality, oversimplification, bias, any of those things can come in. That's the reason why you're wanting to make sure that you keep a human in the loop for any of these things that you're talking to it about, because you're the one evaluating it. You're going to be the one taking that look and trying to decide what you're going to be doing with that. So here's some ways that you can use AI for project management. Support brainstorming, creative options for solutions and strategies. You're going to be looking and doing your brainstorming with your team, and then a lot of times you'll use AI to see, what did we miss? Was there a better solution? Was there a better topic that we didn't even talk about? You can also use it to generate first drafts for product documents, business cases, charters, risk registers. It will generate a draft of a lot of these different pieces. And so you can apply AI-driven analysis for potential risks, for proposed mitigation strategies, create potential project templates, content, integrate AI as a supportive partner that enhances project leadership. And so those of you who are already using it in some of these ways, then you already know what we're talking about. All right, so first off, make sure you're signed into one of your tools. I don't care what tool, but sign into one of your tools. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using the Word document I just uploaded on chat that you could download. And so we're going to use that so you don't have to type anything, okay? And so when we get into this, you're going to load in the foundational background information, is how this will typically work. And then you'll create detailed prompts without removing anything. So you're going to keep loading it in as you work with this. So you're going to have to be specific with your outputs, adjust the new prompt without deleting any of the previous information. So it's the opposite of what we get into with Google, where you do a word search and then get rid of it to do another word search. You're going to leave all of it in after you put it in here. And so it's going to build off of the previous prompts. So let's start off with brainstorming, okay? So brainstorming, your project overview is at the very top. So you're going to go ahead and open that and go ahead and copy brainstorming too, because this is what you're going to end up putting in here. And so stop at methodology prompt. You're not there yet. So that's all you're going to copy is the overview and the brainstorming prompt. And so let me explain to you what this is. So your overview, you are planning a project for a mid-sized organization, launch a 30-day employee wellness program called Thrive in 30. The goal is to improve employee engagement, encourage healthy habits, and support a positive workplace culture. The program should be voluntary, easy to participate in, affordable. It will include steps or movement to goals, hydration reminders, habit tracking, weekly encouragement messages, and end of program recognition. So I just tried to give you some kind of simplified project to where your AI tool will be able to use it as the anchor, okay? And so that's your overview. And so you're getting ready to put that in. So next, what we're going to do, or the first thing we're going to do, is brainstorm and creative options. So you're going to use AI to expand, not replace your thinking. You're going to begin with a clear topic. You're going to ask for a quantity and give me a variety of 15 different risks, ranking them from highest to lowest. Give me risks that are not standard for this project, and generate 10 mitigation strategies. So what you're looking at here in your brainstorm prompt, let's go ahead and copy that, and let's go ahead and put it into our AI tool. And so if you pull your AI tool up, There you go. Let me pull that up for you so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be using ChatGPT. So let's let you see what I'm doing here. All right, so let me change screen so you can see this real quick. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm putting it into ChatGPT so you'll be able to see it here. So it should start coming up for you here. So I've just cut and pasted that into ChatGPT where it talks about the project overview. I've also got in here that based on the project so you can see it. And so if you guys will, go ahead and can your microphones. We're hearing some feedback for that. And so this will let you go ahead and see what it's going to produce. So regardless what tool you're in, it should work in any of your tools. And so you'll see what's getting ready to produce here. It will come back and it will generate some of these different ideas for you here for project overview. So you've put that in. And then as you scroll on down through here, they're giving you several of the approaches that they suggest. And so they're breaking it down, not just giving you one approach, but they're giving you some pros and cons of each of these. And so what they're saying is, as an agile approach would work best for Thrive 30, and they give you the reasons. And so they told you about waterfall. They told you about agile. They talked to you a little bit about stakeholder involvement here. They're making some recommendations, and they even brought in some resources. The way I've got this written is I want resources or sources so that we can look and do some things and check how it's working in those cases. And so this would be just an opening project that you're working with, giving you some ideas and some solutions on something like this. So don't remove any of that. Leave that into your tool because you're going to actually use that again in just a moment here. And so let's go back and pick up right where we left off for a moment. And so let me change screens for you again so that you can see what I'm getting ready to do. And we'll go back to the slides for a moment. And so we're looking at the idea of brainstorming with some of this. Is what you're doing. And so with that, so what we actually talked about a little bit was looking at brainstorming. Brainstorming can include a lot of different things. Risk, it can include your risk ranking. It can give me risk if you want, generate 10 mitigation strategies. It can generate any of those particular things that you need. So you brainstorm with your team just like normal, but this can be your assistant to see, did we miss anything in some of these pieces here? So let's go a little further here. All right, so Creative Options allows AI to share different perspectives, such as give ideas for the perspective of a portfolio manager. What would an executive want to see here? Give me ideas from the perspective of the customer. Show me a sample. Give me an example of how this will work. Turn this idea into a scenario. You can go in a lot of different directions once your AI tool has that initial information, because it's going to pull from that information to try its best to produce what it is that you're wanting to see and that you're wanting to do. All right, so this was our brainstorming prompt that we just put in here that we were talking about. So based on the project, analyze whether it'd be better managed using a traditional or agile. And so after I put that in, then of course it's making some recommendations. Now you're making the call whether you're going to use agile or waterfall. It's making some recommendations to you. That's what it should be doing. It's an assistant. And so it should be doing that piece right there. So it has recommended in this situation, it recommended doing agile project management with it because you've got versatility. Might not be the best for your situation, might not be the best for your culture for some of your projects, but I just wanted you to be able to see what it would do. All right, so now that you understand what you're doing with putting in the prompt, let's move to our next piece. So it's recommended to us a particular methodology. So let's go to the next part. You can also use this for creative options. So one of the things that you'll do, these options will challenge your current approach. So here's some questions to consider for that. What assumptions am I making with some of the things that we do and how we do projects? We do make assumptions all the time. And some of those assumptions are biased by us. What is another way to frame this? Is there another way of looking at this project, another way of doing this? How could I do this in a non-traditional way? What would be the opposite approach? What would make this more engaging? Or does this fit our goals? Does this fit my audience? And one of the things that's interesting is how well your AI tool can pick up on some of those things and say, hey, this might be a little biased, or this might not be the best for you because of these reasons. The other side of this, that would bring you into the methodology. So what we did is I went ahead and created a methodology prompt for you. So that's in your Word document. So if you'll go over and just copy your methodology prompt, don't remove anything in your AI tool, leave it there. And so let me go ahead and bring you back to that tool so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going right back to the tool. There you go. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting this methodology part. That's why I gave it to you, so you didn't have to retype this. And so let me close that. And now I'm going to go right back into my tool. I haven't changed anything. I haven't removed anything. And it's going to take that previous information plus this new prompt and give me an additional output. Here I'm asking about methodology, to use the 30 project and to give us a methodology for this. Give me a little bit better methodology. It's already given me a high level. Let's see if we can't go a little deeper with this. So it'll start processing here. Takes just a second here, and then it'll start coming out with some information for you. All right, so here's your methodology prompt that we just put in, and then here's your answer. And so it came back this time with additional information and said, rather than use Agile, maybe it'd be better for you to use hybrid because there's components of this that's going to be traditional and components of this that need to be Agile. And so with more information, it said probably a hybrid approach would be a little better for you. And so here it actually broke it down into what would be the hybrid side. Because as you know, hybrid is hitting a moving target. And so one hybrid project would be different than another. And so here it said use waterfall for planning and setup, use Agile during implementation. So it's actually breaking it down with some of your ideas. And then it gave you the best fit, some recommendations. And of course, you can do a deep dive with any of those comments as well. I'm trying to give you a little bit of a broad perspective here. So let's assume that we like our hybrid methodology. That is what we're going to be doing. And we feel pretty comfortable with that. So let's go ahead and go right back to our slides for a moment. We'll move to the next piece after we've come up with the methodology. And so we like the hybrid. We kind of like that recommendation. It feels right to us as we're doing this because you're making the call. Remember that AI is not making the decision. You're making the call based on some of the recommendations. So now let's take it into some of the drafts. So you've kind of got what your project is, high level. You've got a little bit of what the methodology. So let's go into the draft. Now, this particular prompt is going to deal with the business case. Now, many of you don't write your business case. I know the business case is typically treated like a pre-project document, which is okay. But for some of those of you who have to deal with your business case, I thought, let me go ahead and start there and show you what it will do with the business case, and then we'll move you right into the charter. And so in this case, this is talking about the business case. You know, the business case is typically the document that executives will create or a business analyst will create, and they will look at this to determine whether or not the project's going to bring enough value. And so with the business case, that's where it would start. Typically, as a project manager, you're not going to create the business case. It's done by management. You're usually appointed at the charter, which is the document after this, okay? But for the purpose of this, I wanted you to see this part here as well. So let's go ahead and go into our enhanced business case prompt. And so that's right underneath the methodology. And go ahead and copy that. And then we've also got several bullet points for you here because this is going to have a prompt and then an extra prompt. So don't pick up the extra prompt just yet. And so let me show you what we're doing. Swap screens on you again. So going right back to the tool. And so I've copied everything from the business case all the way up to the extra prompt. I didn't pick that up yet. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut and paste that in, not removing anything. And let's go ahead and let this give us some information on creating a business case, a draft, not a full business case, but a draft. And so that's what you're doing. It's going to think for a moment, taking all the information you've already looked at, all the methodology we've looked at, and now it's going to create you a draft of a business case. Not going to be perfect, not expecting it to be perfect, but it's going to give you an high-level draft of that business case for you. All right, so here it comes up. So it's going back to your prompt. And so now let's go down through here under answer, business case area. So it has broken down your business case into those specific areas. It's given you a sentence or two, very high level. of each of those sections. Now, for those of you who might be wanting more narrative there to see what it's talking about, you can tell it that you want 7 or 8 sentences, or you'd like 2 paragraphs per bullet point. That won't be a problem, and it will generate it, but you're still in control of deciding whether it's good narrative or bad narrative. You're still trying to decide, does it make sense? And it gave you a recommendation. Approve the project as a pilot. It's affordable, easy to launch, gives leaders useful engagement data before deciding whether to expand it. So it gave you a recommendation. If you wanted 5 recommendations, you just get a little more specific with that prompt, and it will generate whatever it is. However, I gave you an extra piece for this one prompt. And so what you're going to do is go right back to your prompt down here, this extra prompt right underneath it, create a specific description of what value this will bring to the organization. And so this is where you're tapping into AI for analysis. And this is really one of the strongest things. So you're going to copy that, just that extra prompt. You're going to put it back into your AI tool, just like I'm doing right here. And then it's going to pull off of all that other information and give you information. So here's what this extra prompt said. Create a very specific description of what value this brings to the organization. Show it in return on investment, benefits, speed, efficiency, or better processes. Align this with the benefits that organizational executives monitor most often. So we're asking it to do a little analysis for us. So let's see what it does for you here. So it's still working just a second. All right, so here it's coming up again. There it goes. All right, so it's giving you the return on investment, some ways to look at return on investment, cost control, productivity, and speed, efficiency, better processes, executive value. And of course, you could go more in depth on any of these if you wanted to be able to do that. And so it will show you in those pieces there. All right, so let's go back to our slides just a moment, because I've got 5 of these I want to get you through in this hour, okay? So let's go back to our slide. And so we have just loaded that in for your business case. All right, let's go to our next piece here. So now the charter is typically where you and I get involved. That's typically where a project manager gets appointed. Maybe your organization's different, but that's typically where it is. And so we know that the charter is usually the document that comes out and says, hey, this is going to be a project. And so AI is strongest at creating content and drafts more than almost anything else. And so stakeholders lose precious time trying to create a draft or a sample. A template is not just a document shell, but it's going to have content in it. And so they should support thinking, not replace it. And it is a structure that helps stakeholders be more creative, capture critical information, reduce emissions, improve repeatable work, and support decision making. And so it's possible, even after you create your charter, to have AI look at it and see, do you have any conflicting information in there? And it will make some recommendations for you. You might even tell it not to change anything, just show you the spot that's having the problem spot and make a recommendation of how to change it or wordsmith it. And so that would help very easily for you on that. Using AI for project templates and content is not about letting AI manage the project. It's about using AI to accelerate structure, improve consistency, support clearer project communication while maintaining human judgment. And so the purpose of that template is structure, is really what it is. And so I'm wanting you to be able to see this, how it can give you that structure as well. So here is the prompt that we're going to use for the charter. And so if you go back to your Word document and find this, and so I'll take you right back there if we can. And so we will find the project charter prompt. Let's just see what I'm doing here, sorry. All right, so you're going to see the project charter prompt. Okay, so I'm going to take the project charter prompt and I'm just copying and pasting it. I'm going to go all the way down, stop at the extra prompt because I've got an extra prompt for you here on project charter. And so then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and paste that in without removing anything else because it's going to use that and all that previous information for it. So I've got my project charter prompt in here. So let's let it show me what it's going to produce for us. It will create a template for us. It will create an overview from the project charter standpoint. So while it's doing that, we've already looked at general brainstorming. We've already looked at using high level for the business case. We've already looked at it giving us some recommendations on value. And at this, we're using it for the charter piece. And we've told it specific sections of the charter that we want. Your sections might be different, might not need all of these for the size project. Okay, so now it's come back with our project charter. And so it's showing us our prompt again, and then it's giving you the answer. So it's giving you each of these sections. Once again, I've got it programmed just to give me a sentence for each of these. But if you are wanting more for high-level scope, high-level deliverables, high-level information, you tell it how much you want. You want 2 paragraphs or you want 15 sentences or whatever. You just tell it that. If you're wanting it to write at a specific level, you could dumb it down to where it's a 5th grade level, or you could say, I want this to be graduate level, and it will actually use that phraseology in what it's writing. And so you'll see constraints. And so constraints might be something that we would have a tendency to want to go back and research more. Give me a list of the constraints in priority, and it will go back and do that. And so that's what you're looking at with your charter. So let's go ahead and use our extra prompt for your charter, okay? Review this project charter and provide high-level cost estimates, and the number of sources required to deliver the project. You can give ranges if that is more correct. Now, all I did is I'm asking it to make some suggestions. It's not scheduling my project for me. It's just giving me information and some ideas. So I'm going to put that right back in without cutting anything out. And so what you're going to see here as we do this, and it's going to give you some ranges of what this wellness program could cost and how many people it would take. And that's what you're wanting. Information allows you to be in control of what decisions you make. No information means we're shooting in the dark, and that's what we don't want to have happen. All right, so your extra prompt is getting ready to come up here. All right, so here's your extra prompt. It's giving you some high-level estimates. 1,000 to 5,000. I told it could give us some ranges depending on what we're wanting. What kind of project lead? 1 person, 20 to 40 hours, communication, wellness program, department manager, tools and material is relatively low. Recognition and incentives is 500 to 3,000, depending on how generous your organization is, if we were really doing this, okay? And then contingency, 10 to 15% of the budget for unexpected communication, tracking, or prize needs. And so it just gave us a range of some things. Of course, you can hone in on any one of these with additional extra prompts, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go right back to our slides for just a moment and take you to the next little piece, okay? All right, so now we've got our business case, we've brainstormed, we've got our business case, now we've got our charter, and you've done a couple of extra prompts with it. So let's go ahead and move to our next piece here after the charter. And so this is where we're looking at the work breakdown structure. Now, you know that the work breakdown structure is generally going to be used more on traditional project management than it will be agile. But we're going to start with that. So let's assume we've decided we're going to do, even if it's a hybrid, parts of it are going to be traditional. And so first drafts of your WBS. So drafting a WBS allows the team to see the project breakdown with little effort, because it's taking this and it's going to generate something for you to be able to use just, once again, for research. So AI helps with efficiency by reducing the amount of time a team spends breaking the work down, and allows the team to evaluate the draft rather than create it. Technology allows the team to play with other options for working on the project. And so this is a breakdown for it, but we're going to do one just so you can see it on your side, okay? I wanted a graphical version of it. It will do it in both. And so it did the first time it did it in outline form, but I wanted a graphical version of it so I could show it to you here. And so this is a draft of this particular project in WBS. And so before we go into that, we're going to go ahead and go right back to your draft of the WBS. And so if you'll go back down to your tool again and to your Word document, let's get this open over here where you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go right back to the draft of the WBS. So I'm going to take my draft of the WBS, and you're going to go all the way down. I've got several layers here that I've got here. Stop before you get to the extra prompt. Copy it, and then paste it into your tool. There it is. and it will create something for you here pretty quick. And so many of us use it from an outline standpoint into your schedule. That's not even a problem. But if you're wanting a graphic, I wanted a graphic so I could show you that it would do a graphic for you. And so let's let this process just a second, and it will create a WBS. Might not be perfect, but it's just a starting point. That's the whole point for every piece of this, is it's a starting point for you in each of these. And so let's keep going here for just a moment. All right, so it's generating something for you. All right, so it asks me to confirm something, so let's just confirm it. It's going to give us a hierarchical diagram, so let's see what it does for you guys. So it's breaking it down, and this one's doing it as a flow diagram, which is a little different than what I just showed you. Yours might be doing it as a graphic or a flow diagram, but it's breaking it all down so that you can see all the different pieces of it. Back up here so you can see this. And then you can, of course, you can always download these by hitting the download, and it's coming out as a graphic, or you can hit this over here, these boxes, and that's copying the response. Oh, here it is. It's loading the diagram right now. So it is showing you another diagram. So it created it from Mermaid, and it's actually, it's not showing it on this one. So I showed you the other one I did, but for whatever reason, it didn't do it this time. Okay, so, but it will. And so you just have to play with it a little bit. So let's go ahead and do the extra prompt on this. I don't know why I didn't do it that time. I tested it several times and it was working. So my extra prompt for this, create another graphic WBS, but use Agile or Scrum as the main methodology. Show the various iterations, sprints, and make suggestions on how many 2-week iterations it will take to complete the project and how to break it up. Also give an alternative I have not considered for running this project. So that's what we've asked it in this extra here. It would have been much better had it given us a true graphic or something on the waterfall type, or the WBS, I'm sorry. And so let's take a look here. You can see it coming back up again. So we're asking it about Agile, what it will do about iterations here. All right, so here's your extra prompt coming up. Graphics will always take a little longer. And it's connecting to other apps to be able to produce some of this for you. Okay, so here it comes. All right, so it's broken it down here in Mermaid, very similar thing. Let's see if it's not done yet. Okay, so here's your graphic. Let's open it up a little bit where you can see it here. And so it broke it down into a graphic for you. I know you can't hardly see it. You'd have to download it and you'd be able to see it. So on your side, you ought to be able to download it and throw it in a PowerPoint or something to be able to see it. And so what it did here, it gave you the iterations that we're talking about. And that way you'd be able to take a look at that. All right, let's go back. All right, now let's go to the next piece here. So now let's go into risk. The actual description of risk is what we're trying to deal with here. So let's get this back up. So risk is one of those areas that we struggle with a lot of times. So you should have a slide coming up on your side. So as we go into risk, a lot of times risk is one of those. So you can apply AI-driven analysis for risk. How am I looking at that risk correctly? We do high, medium, low a lot of times. You probably do something like that. So AI can generate risk statements, but it cannot substitute for risk logic. What's a risk to one company might not be a risk to the other. So AI is a pattern finder looking for themes, clusters, failure patterns. When it's looking at something, it's predicting. And so in other words, it's looking at what you have and making predictions based on what it sees and what information it's looking at. So here's my risk analysis prompt that we're going to use. And so here we're asking it to identify realistic risk for this project. And so let's go right back to our prompt one more time. And so that way you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going right back to risk analysis. That's what I'm going to be pulling up right here. And so I'm going to pull all of that up all the way down to the extra prompt, copy it. And all I'm going to do is just paste it right back in, asking it to show me some of the risks that it sees and it predicts as real risks. I might rule those out. You and your team might say, well, that's not really a risk for us. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. And so it's going to give us some ideas on some of the risks that we'll have an opportunity to decide whether we like it or not. Plus, also at the bottom of this, I've also asked it to put it in a tabular format. Sometimes it'll do it in a tabular format that's going to be real easy for you. Sometimes it will not. It all depends on the tool and depends on how many other people are in that tool. If you're using a non-paid version, it many times will not produce the tabular format because it takes more processing power. So it's generating right here. Okay, so let's just see what it comes up with here. It's not finished yet. Okay, so it is putting it in tabular format. So you'll notice you can actually download this right from this and put it right into a Word document or something. And so you've got risk number one, they gave it to you, low employee participation. What's the trigger? What's the probability? Medium. The impact could be high. It gave you a response strategy. And so what it's doing, it's taking the probability, and of course, this is just pulling from the internet. And so it's pulling everything in that other people have had with that type of project and that type of risk, and it's giving you some suggestions. And so when we talk about doing the response strategy, it's giving us those ideas of what we could do to either reduce that risk or what is going to be our mitigation strategy. And so it did that on for risk here. Okay, so let's go back to our slide. I'm really trying to keep us on it just as quick as possible here. And I'll let you ask some questions right at the end. I think I'm going to have just a couple of minutes and I'll answer anything I can for you because I know I'm doing this real fast. I'm trying to put it into an hour time. Okay, so supportive partner for options. So integrating AI is that partner. So in other words, it's not just left up to the project manager or even the team. This can be for checks and balances of what we're using. So supportive partners are used to give counsel, options, expose blind spots, move from generalities to real specifics, create order, add value, expand independent thinking, challenge the status quo, verify direction and best practices. That's what this is where this tool is going to shine for you because it's allowing you the opportunity to double check what you're doing before you do it because it's predicting that far out is what it's doing. So what you're trying to do is keep a human in the loop. And so connects the oversight and verifies the output's correct. Most of the problem we're having where things go haywire, the human in the loop didn't do anything, didn't look at it. They just assumed it was good. You probably have read about it from the legal people who were using AI to write some of their briefs, and it was wrong. You saw it in hospitals where people were using it. You saw it in schools where people were using it, and then all of a sudden you find some glitch in it. Well, the reason is because it wasn't scrutinized. And so human in the loop helps you take care of this. And so AI informs the process. It gives samples, but humans or oversight verifies whether it's trustworthy or not. And it can be wrong. It hallucinates. All AI tools hallucinate to some point. It's trying to give you an answer is what it's trying to do. All right, so let me stop right here for just a moment and let me handle a few questions from you. And I see a lot of things on chat, so let's take a look at a couple of those real quick and see what we've got here. So cut and paste, it's fuzzy, you don't see it. Okay, project overview, we saw that. Brainstorm, okay. Thumbs. I don't see them either. Which of them are we talking about? Were we talking about prompts? You didn't see the prompts? Give me a thumbs up if you're talking about prompts. You didn't see the prompts on the chat. Was that it? the version 2 document. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a version 2 document is. Did I have a version on my Word document? I didn't think I did. Okay, questions that you might have. And then I'll close out with this last little piece and show you something here. One more thing, and then we'll kind of close out with everything here. I'm scanning all the chat. Have I used PMI's tool? I have used PMI AI tool, and it is pretty good. PMI, their AI tool that they're using is behind their firewall, so it's using their data, and that's exactly how most organizations are going to eventually get to, is that they'll have a tool that will use just the data within their culture behind their firewall, and that's going to be the safest way for us to do this. The project that I've just written is on how to run an AI project, and so I see Dieter on here. Dieter's guys are going to be the people who are going to be testing it in June. And so what we're doing is we're talking about how do you work on AI. You're going to use AI to help work on AI, and how to actually install or bring about an AI project that is behind the firewall that you are using. But PMI's tool is exactly what that is. And so they're using it very well. And you're going to see every company eventually will have their own, because that's going to be the fastest way for you to be able to find information, analyze information, and safest, because it will be behind that. It's a great tool. Some studies suggest an over-reliance can diminish human analysis. I believe that. Yeah, absolutely. How dumb can we make ourselves? I mean, is that not us? I did this for a association of pastors, because they were so anti-AI. And so I did this, and one of the guys raised his hand. He said, "Pastors will not have to study anymore. They'll just preach AI." And I looked at him and I said, lazy pastors have always been here. They've bought outlines all of their life. I said, everybody in here has preached somebody else's outline, and they all started laughing. And I said, so if you want to be a loser and be lazy, it's going to work that way no matter what profession we're in. But that was absolutely true. I mean, AI will generate a pretty darn good sermon outline for them. So we had fun with that. I was scanning down through here. Any other questions that you might have? If not, we'll go ahead and do this last little piece, this last extra section here. At the end of risk, you've got your extra prompt for risk. Let's go ahead and put that in, and I'll let you see it, and then we'll talk about a couple of things here. I want to keep you right on target here. And so let me get rid of, go back to this. There we go. All right, so let's go and we'll move back, do the last little piece. I forgot that part, and we'll go ahead and do that and get that in here. All right, so we're going to go right back to do that extra prompt that we were talking about and let you see that part. And this is still on risk, so I'm just copying my extra prompt right there at the bottom of the page. I wasn't sure how long this would take, so I actually could have done a couple more the way I did this. So I'm going to put that extra prompt. This is about risk as well. Create a list of the top 5 priority risk, each with a specific mitigation plan draft. Now, we've already asked it to do to format it in tabular format, but now I'm going back to do a deep dive on 5 of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and tell it to do that. That's what your prompt is doing. So you already have your tabular format for that. And now it's going to generate for you a deep dive on those top 5. And then we'll show you those and just kind of pull all the rest of this together. We're good. We're in good shape with everything, so we can answer a couple of things. Okay, here comes your prompt here. It's thinking. Just a second. I did when I set it up, I did put in, did I have for sources, because I wanted people to be able to go back to see where they justify their idea. And so sources or references, I do ask for that. Okay, so here's your prompt. Oh, it's not done yet. Okay, so it gave us low risk here. It's still not finished. Here it is. It gave us mitigation plan. Use simple. There it goes. Use simple sign up, manager reminders, visible weekly encouragement. If not mitigated, the program may fail to improve engagement of culture. And then high priority participants in central to voluntary wellness programs. Privacy concerns, it gave us some mitigation strategies, accessible issues, weak communication, create a short communication calendar with kickoff, weekly reminders, and close-out messages. Unclear measurements. And so it gave us 4 or 5 of these. And so once again, you would have the opportunity to be able to go back to any of those that you wanted to and do a deeper dive into any of those if that would be beneficial to you for that. But my point in showing you all of this was I thought this would be a good chance to allow you to be able to see it. I know a lot of people here, you're hearing all kinds of things. And so, you know, a lot of times people are saying, well, how could I use this? And this was a free version we were actually using right here. And I wanted to show you that on a free version, even though I pay for one, so that you can see just how much information can come out of a free version. And this was ChatGPT that I was using for my demonstration here. So let me answer a couple of questions here, and then I'll hit these last couple of slides and get you guys where you need to go. Questions from anybody? All right, let me show you a couple of things here. So this is our future webinars. Next month, we'll be talking about making it stick. We're going to be focusing on lessons learned. And so lessons learned become lessons applied. July, we're going to talk about inventing tomorrow's metrics. How can we upgrade our metrics to a lot of different things? Also, when you look at August, we're talking about building resilience. September, we're going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. And so let me see here. Got it. We have version 2. Not in the chat. Missed with the Word document share. Have I used PMI ATP tool? AI can be a great tool. Thank you. Heard that you can customize a profile. You can customize a profile. When you have a paid version of any of your tools, you can go in and customize the profile and give it a persona of how you want it to look at you. And so if you're, you go in and you talk about being a project manager and what type of projects you typically do, and you can put some criteria in there that it's going to produce, and you're not always having to cut and paste those things in. You might still use a prompt, but you're not having to be as detailed with it. Should we think about our use of AI and the environmental impact of data centers? I think the verdict's still out on this. I mean, they're talking about data centers like crazy, and of course we'll have to see what is the real impact of data centers with everything. But AI is going to be here one way or another. We just want to be on the side that we understand it. Whether we choose not to use it, that's okay. But we just want to be able to understand it. Request for sources, I did add that. Some of the engines have different levels of response. That's right. And that's one of the things why I don't really care what people use, but it does come out with something different. And so you'll use something. And when we do this in class, and so in a couple of weeks when I'm up there with Dieter's group, we'll have multiple groups doing this. And so you'll look and see what one produced compared to the other, and they use the exact same prompt. And so it does produce something totally different with something like that. Look and see here. Okay. All right. One other thing I wanted to show you is something new that we talked about last time. Let me see if I got this right here. And so we talked about, for those of you who have people who are trying to do the PMP, still trying to get their PMP, we're doing the 7-minute. Let's get it up here for you. Here it is. There we go. All right, so we created at the beginning of this year. Let me show it to you. This is our YouTube channel that we have and these are free for your people to be able to watch. These go along with the new exam content outline. And so this is called 7 minutes to PMP exam mastery. And so this is the new YouTube channel that we have. All of these are videos that are between 7 and 12 minutes long, and they're on different aspects of the exam content outline. So if you have somebody who's working on trying to get their PMP, this material it's not even a year old yet. So we got it all signed up. We do 2 a week. And so you can sign up on our website if you like and be able to get those. Kim sends those out every week. And so we've got a gazillion of them already that we're doing, 2 a week. And so we're taking a content exam, the exam content outline. We're talking about what it's like on the test. We're even putting in a sample test question that follows, some of the things that PMI does. And we talk about what the right answer is. And then we talk about why the other 3 answers were wrong. And so that's one of the reasons why so many of these are going to 12 minutes rather than 7 minutes. But we felt like that would benefit some of the people who are trying to figure out how to do this with their PMP. And so the PMP will be changing in July. And so if you're thinking about getting that, sooner is typically better because you know more about this test than you do the future test. But anyway, this is called 7 Minutes to PMP Mastery. And so let me put I'll put this into the chat so that if you want that link, that'll be fine. So I'm putting the link to that in there, and that way you can do it. And so anyway, that way you'll see that. Now, let me go ahead and get these last couple of slides and get you guys out of here so that you'll be right on time, okay? All right, so well, let's see. There we go. So let's get this back up for you here. All right, so just the last couple of things to mention to you. We talked about the future webinars that we'll be doing the rest of the year. And then the other piece that we want to show you to talk about is that we have one more PMP Mastermind class. This is free, and this helps people be able to fill out their application and get it in. We are noticing that they're being very picky on the applications right now. And so we've just done 2 boot camps in the last couple of weeks, and we've noticed that several people in both classes ended up getting their applications kicked back for different reasons. And some of it was just some of it was really kind of Mickey Mouse stuff that they've accepted in the past, but they didn't accept it this time. So we did the 7 minutes, and we talked about these are our virtual boot camps that we're doing we'll be doing every other month. So we still have one in June that we'll be doing a week after next, August. We'll do one in October and one in December. And so if you got anybody that you're wanting to put in there, we'd love to have them. And so we are using the new ATP material that has come out. PMI has mandated that all ATPs have to use this. So we've taught 2 boot camps. June will be my 3rd boot camp with the newest material. And so we're already having to use that. And then also, if we can help you in any way or with additional help or anything, don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be glad to work with you and see what you need and to help you with any kind of information that would be beneficial to you. And then that was just a reference for you of OpenAI. All right, well, let's pull this thing together. Thank you guys so much for being part of this. I hope you enjoyed this. I could have put a couple more in here that would have been kind of fun. I was so concerned about trying to do it online with you guys and trying to get it done. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you and I know many of you are way beyond what we were talking about today, and that's great. But it was good to have you here, and so I hope you enjoyed it. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next month. Okay, bye, guys.